Have you ever really considered something as simple as, say, a bottled dish soap? Or maybe that plastic container you've got in the fridge. We use them every day, right? We barely give them a second thought. But the journey of these everyday items, well, it can tell a really profound economic story for a whole nation. Today, we're doing a deep dive into how a country like Liberia is looking to, transform its economic future. And it's focusing precisely on these kinds of fundamental products.
Yeah, and for this deep dive, we've got quite a stack of sources. We've got detailed trade data plastics, cleaning products for Liberia, but also across Africa and globally. We're also digging into a really comprehensive business plan for this innovative project called a manufacturing school in Liberia. Plus, we're looking at different industrialization strategies, including, actually, a fascinating historical case, Turkey's first five-year industrial plan. And then there's the role of major trade blocs like AfCFTA and ECOWAS, and some really important insights into global trade dynamics today.
Okay, so our mission today is pretty clear. We want to untack Liberia's current trade situation in these key sectors, then explore this really ingenious local solution that's designed to kickstart domestic production. We want to understand the ripple effects, the powerful impact of building these industries basically from scratch, and then put all of this into the bigger picture national development, international trade. It's really about seeing how these basic goods can be a building blocks of a strong, more self-reliant economy. So let's start there. Let's set the stage with Liberia's current trade reality. Specifically for plastics and cleaning products. We hear the term trade deficit all the time, but what does it actually look like, on the ground for these essential items people use every day?
Well, the numbers are, frankly, incredibly stark. They paint a very clear picture
Yeah.
of economic vulnerability. Let's take plastics and articles thereof. That's Product 39 and trade codes. In 2023, Liberia's exports in this category, just $76,000.
76,000, that's it.
That's it. Now compare that to imports, a staggering $51.24 million.
What?
So this gives you an import-export coverage ratio of, wait for it, 0.15%.
0.15%. That's tiny.
It's extremely low. To put it another way, for every dollar of plastics Liberia manages to export, it's importing over $600 worth. This isn't just some abstract number, right? It's a constant daily drain on the country's capital. And we see a similar pattern, though maybe slightly less dramatic, for soap, organic surface active agents, washing preparations, this Product 34. Liberia exported about $2.5 million in 2023. Okay, but it imported nearly $6.5 million. That gives a coverage ratio of 38.48%. Better than plastics, sure, but still means they're importing more than double what they export in basic cleaning supplies.
And how does that compare, say, regionally or globally?
Good question. So for context, the average coverage ratio for Africa as a whole for plastics is around 23.5%. For cleaning products, it's about 48.5%. Globally, the average is close to 100% for both. Most countries are producing roughly as much as they consume, or even exporting more. And if you look at the really big picture for Liberia, their overall trade deficit for all products in 2023, it was a massive negative $2 billion, with a coverage ratio of just 7%.
Okay, those figures really hammer home the heavy reliance on imports. So, beyond just the dollars and cents, what does this deep dependency actually mean for the country, for its economy, its people?
Well, it means a huge outflow of money, capital that could be circulating inside Liberia, right? Stimulating local businesses, creating opportunities. It means very limited local value creation because they're not making these things themselves. And critically, it's a massive missed opportunity for jobs, for developing skills, for building an entrepreneurial base that could actually lift people out of poverty. Essentially, money that should be building Liberia's future is constantly leaving the country.
That's a stark picture, and it leads straight to the next question: what can be done? What's the solution? Our sources point to this really fascinating local initiative in Liberia, the Plastics and Cleaning Products Manufacturing School.
Now, this sounds like more than just a school, right? It seems like a direct attempt to tackle those trade deficits head on.
Exactly. It's designed that way. The core idea is an open technical knowledge transfer project. It's focused on teaching people how to actually manufacture and sell plastic and cleaning products, the target group, entrepreneurs, they call them students. And they go through this very practical phase training. First, some theory, pass some tests. Then, importantly, a 1-week practical production training. They're literally working like a worker, making actual products.
Really hands-on then. Very hands-on. And what's smart is they record everything video, text, documenting the processes. This helps build a knowledge base and encourages students to share what they learn. After manufacturing, there's a sales application phase. Students get involved in actually selling the products, learning marketing, the end goal, Yeah. Enable these students to start their own businesses or become really valuable, skilled employees in this sector.
And how is it funded? That's often the sticking point for these kinds of projects.
Right. And here's the really clever part.
Uh,
The school aims to be entirely self-funded
oh,
through selling the products that the students themselves manufacture during their training.
that's incredibly innovative. So, okay, what specific products are they actually teaching people to make? You said cleaning products and plastics, but it must be more specific than that.
Oh, absolutely. It's not generic at all. It's very targeted to what people actually need and use daily.
Mm.
For cleaning products, they're teaching 11 different types: surface cleaner, bleach, dish detergent, liquid hand soap, glass cleaner.
Okay, the basics.
The basics, plus softener, lime remover, carpet shampoo, degreaser, grout cleaner, and even cologne. A pretty wide range. Then on the plastic side, it's just as comprehensive. Plastic recycling, first off, sourcing raw materials for injection and blow molding. Then the actual manufacturing. Plastic injection, making caps, blow molding for bottles and larger containers. Think those 5, 10, 20, 30-liter bidons you see everywhere. And even plastic classification, which ties into scrap dealing, so it covers a big chunk of the plastics value chain.
Wow, that level of detail is impressive. It sounds incredibly ambitious. What kind of timeline are they looking at? How quickly do they expect to, get this off the ground?
They have a clear phase timeline laid out. The short term, the first 3 months, is all about prep work. Identifying candidates, entrepreneurs, trainers, workers, setting up vocational counseling, getting that first cleaning products workshop ready. Crucially, setting up a financing system for the entrepreneurs and defining a brand for the school's products.
Okay, groundwork. What happens next?
The midterm, that's the next 6 months. They aim to select the first cohort, about 30 candidates. They'll get theoretical and practical training for 6 specific products initially. Start sales and promotion, award certificates, build a management culture, and start accepting new students already. Then the third quarter focuses on more specialized training, outsourced manufacturing experience for successful students, in-service training for the trainers, and business management skills for the entrepreneurs.
And long term, what's the vision after, say, the first year?
In the long term, the fourth quarter and beyond, the plan is to sign outsourced manufacturing contracts, maybe using the school's facilities or successful graduates' businesses. Integrate successful students back into the school, perhaps as mentors or trainers. Grant suppliers the right to use the school's brand, building credibility. Help students actually establish their own businesses using that financing system. And start publishing regular industry evaluation reports to track progress and share learnings. It's a rapid ramp-up designed for impact.
So, if this school succeeds, what does that mean for the average Liberian consumer, for the market as a whole? Why this focus?
It means more choice, potentially lower prices, and keeping money local. Plastics and cleaning products, they're classified as basic consumer goods. Everybody needs them every day. The trade data we looked at earlier clearly shows there just isn't enough local manufacturing or skilled labor to meet this huge demand. So there's a clear, massive market opportunity that this school is designed to fill. By connecting with wholesalers and markets, they aim to build a visible local supply chain. This benefits consumers, yeah, but it also keeps capital circulating within Liberia instead of flowing out for imports.
Okay, so we see the direct impact. But our sources mentioned something else, something really interesting about the cleaning products sector specifically. They called it an economic synergy engine. That sounds powerful. Like it does more than just make soap, right? Can you unpack that? Why is it seen as such a multiplier for growth?
It's a great term, synergy engine, because it captures how this one industry can spark activity in so many others. It creates this multi-layered economic impact. Think about it. First, the chemistry industry. Cleaning products need raw materials, surfactants, enzymes, bleaches, fragrances. Consumer demand, especially for greener products, pushes the chemical industry to innovate, to invest in R&D for sustainable chemicals. This deepens expertise in chemical engineering.
Okay, makes sense. What else?
Second, the plastics sector. You need packaging, right? Bottles, caps, triggers. So growth in cleaning products directly drives investment in plastic blow molding for bottles and injection molding for things like caps and spray triggers. This stimulates innovation in polymers HDPE, PET, and pushes for lighter, more efficient packaging designs.
Right, the containers themselves.
Exactly. And then, making those containers and filling them efficiently requires specialized equipment. So that fuels the machinery, mold, and automation industry. You need CNC machines, metalworking, software development for those molds, and automated filling lines. High volume, quality control, it all requires advanced manufacturing tech.
So chemistry, plastics, machinery. It keeps going.
It does. There's the constant need for better formulas, more effective ingredients, eco-friendly packaging. That drives the R&D and innovation sector. It fosters collaborations between companies, universities, research institutes in material science, biochemistry, engineering. And finally, all that plastic packaging highlights the importance of recycling and the circular economy. Goals to use more recycled content, to design for recyclability that accelerates the development of recycling infrastructure, collection, sorting, processing tech. It creates whole new business models.
That's a really profound interconnectedness. Starting with something as basic as bleach or dish soap, are there future trends mentioned that could keep this synergy engine running?
Yeah, the outlook points towards a few key areas. A big one is the shift to bio-based and sustainable chemicals. That reduces environmental impact, opens up links to agriculture for raw materials, also personalized cleaning solutions, tailoring products to specific needs. That drives more R&D. And critically, developing innovative business models for a true circular economy. That includes things like continuous maintenance systems for the machinery involved. It's about building a self-improving ecosystem.
It really shows how focusing on one fundamental industry can create this whole web of economic activity. Amazing. Now let's zoom out a bit. How does this Liberian project, this manufacturing school, fit into broader ideas about industrialization? National strategies, regional plans. Our sources mentioned a concept called the industrialization weave. What's that about?
The industrialization weave, yeah, it's an interesting concept from one of the documents. It basically suggests a step-by-step development model. The core idea is that a country needs to build basic industries first, get those foundations right. Only then can it successfully move into more complex sectors, like, say, agricultural machinery or advanced food processing. Cleaning products are actually suggested as a potential core sector to start with, followed by plastics and recycling. Then maybe moving into CNC machining, other metalworking industries.
So like building blocks.
Exactly like building blocks. This step-by-step approach helps develop different industrial branches in a manageable sequence. It allows for gradual industrialization. And it means you can use limited state funds more effectively, more targetedly. They mentioned a dripping incentive system giving support incrementally as industries hit certain milestones, rather than just one big lump sum.
That sounds logical, a phased approach. Do we have any historical examples of this kind of planned, step-by-step industrialization working, especially for a country trying to build itself up?
We do. A really powerful example is the Turkish first five-year industrial plan from 1934 to 1938. Now, remember the context. This was after World War I, during the Great Depression. Turkey was facing economic crisis, but also had this strong desire for economic independence, especially after getting rid of the old capitulations, those economic privileges for foreign powers. So this wasn't some vague overall development plan. It was a very focused sectoral plan for industry. It reflected what they called moderate statism.
Moderate statism, meaning?
Essentially, the state taking a leading role in planning and investing in key industries, but still allowing private enterprise. The strategy was clear. Prioritize industries using domestic raw materials, industries needing significant capital and technology, and industries that could meet domestic needs to replace imports. Import substitution was key. The main sectors they targeted were textiles, mining, cellulose for paper, ceramics like glass, and chemicals.
And how did they implement it? How did it actually work on the ground?
Implementation relied heavily on state-owned enterprises. You had Simmerbank, which was like the central hub for the industrial push, and Bank for mining. But they also focused heavily on human capital. Engineers trained abroad, masters trained in industrial schools, workers trained right in the state factories. Building skills was crucial. And the outcome? Despite some delays, some cost overruns, partly due to WWII looming, it was largely seen as a success. Key factories were established. Textile mills, the first big paper factory, the famous Pashabasik glass factory, the Karabuk iron and steel works, big foundational stuff. And crucially, look at the trade balance. From 1930 to 1937, Turkey actually achieved a foreign trade surplus, a major turnaround. GDP per capita grew significantly too. It really laid a strong foundation.
That's a compelling historical parallel. It really shows what focused strategic industrial planning can achieve. So bringing it back to today, how do regional trade blocs fit in? Liberia is part of groups like FCFTA and ECOWAS. How do these potentially help an initiative like the manufacturing school?
They're absolutely critical. These blocs represent enormous potential markets right on Liberia's doorstep. Take AfCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area. This thing is huge. Most African Union members are in. It aims to be the world's largest free trade zone over 1.4 billion people, a combined GDP of $3.4 trillion.
Yeah, massive potential.
Huge. The goals are ambitious. Eliminate 90% of tariffs, slash non-tariff barriers, easier movement of services, labor. The World Bank estimates it could lift 30 million people out of extreme poverty by 2035 and boost intra-African exports by over 80%, especially in manufacturing.
Yeah.
Liberia is a member. And just look at the demand within AFCFTA in 2023. $3.5 billion imported in cleaning products, $26.6 billion in plastics.
Okay, so a ready-made market if Liberia can produce competitively. What about ECOWAS?
ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, is more regional but still significant. 15 member states, including Liberia. It focuses on economic integration, self-sufficiency, free movement of goods, services, capital, people. Common external tariffs. In 2023, ECOWAS countries imported about $440 million in cleaning products and nearly $3.7 billion in plastics. So both blocs represent these vast potential markets for Liberian-made goods. Instead of importing from Asia or Europe, Liberia could potentially become a supplier within Africa. It's a pathway from import dependency to becoming a regional manufacturing player.
Right, leveraging those regional partnerships. But as you mentioned with the Turkish example, any industrial plant needs people, skilled people. How does this manufacturing school project specifically address Liberia's own human capital situation, especially with youth unemployment being a challenge, right?
It tackles it directly. Liberia has a population of about 5.5 million, and it's very young, rapidly growing. A huge chunk is under 30. But unemployment, particularly for young people in cities, is extremely high, often due to lack of skills, low education levels, just not enough job opportunities. Now, Liberia does have existing TVET institutions, technical and vocational education and training centers, places like MBTC, Booker Washington Institute. They're important. But this manufacturing school is laser-focused. It's directly targeting the specific practical skills needed for these particular industries, plastics and cleaning products. It's about teaching people how to physically make things that are in demand. So it's a very targeted investment in skilled labor, aiming squarely at youth unemployment and trying to harness the potential of that young population, turning them into entrepreneurs, skilled workers.
Okay, so you build the skills, you target the right industries, you leverage regional markets. But then there's the global reality. How does a country like Liberia, just starting to build these sectors, compete in a world market dominated by giants? Our sources mention the challenge of competing with, say, China.
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room, isn't it? The reality of global competition is incredibly tough. One of our sources points out China is often called the world's production factory. Trying to compete directly on price, especially for basic goods, is often, well, extremely difficult for developing nations. Not just Liberia, even countries like Turkey struggle with that. China's influence goes beyond just manufacturing price, too. It's in logistics. Think of their involvement in ports like Mombasa in Kenya. It's even in sort of soft power, encouraging their diaspora to favor Chinese products.
So direct competition is maybe not the way.
Often, no. So the suggested alternative strategy is this idea of developmental industrialization. It's a different approach. Instead of Liberia trying to, say, undercut China on the price of plastic buckets, the focus shifts. It becomes about helping other less developed countries industrialize themselves. Imagine, for instance, if Liberia develops expertise in making basic agricultural tools or food processing equipment. Then, if they help, say, a neighboring country improve its agriculture, that country suddenly becomes a market for Liberia's tools and equipment.
Ah, I see. So you're not just fighting for existing market share, you're helping to create new markets.
Exactly. It shifts the dynamic completely. You move from pure price competition, often a race to the bottom, towards creating new, mutually beneficial trade relationships. You foster industrial growth together across the region, rather than just competing against everyone else. It's a more collaborative vision.
That's a really interesting strategic pivot. So not just competing, but co-creating markets. We've covered a lot of ground today, a really remarkable deep dive. We started with those stark trade deficits in Liberia for everyday things, plastics, cleaning products. Then we explored this really innovative, self-sustaining manufacturing school project, a grassroots effort designed to turn that import dependency around, create local production, build entrepreneurs.
And we trace those economic ripples, that synergy engine effect. How starting with cleaning products can boost chemistry, plastics, machinery, recycling. We saw the parallels with historical strategies, like Turkey's ambitious plan back in the 30s. And we looked at how crucial regional trade blocs like AFCFTA and ECOWAS are offering this huge potential market right next door.
It really highlights how that journey from just importing basics to actually producing them locally, it's more than just economics, isn't it? It feels like a strategic move towards self-reliance, building skills, seizing regional opportunities. It's about fundamentally rethinking the economy.
Absolutely. And it leaves us, and you, with a really important question to think about. If a country like Liberia can potentially use something as humble as a cleaning product, a plastic bottle, as the starting point for a whole industrial strategy,
Hmm.
what other seemingly simple everyday items might hold that same key for economic transformation in developing nations elsewhere? And what could be the broader impact if this industrialization weave approach, this idea of step-by-step building and regional collaboration, became more widespread? Could it genuinely shift global trade dynamics and help alleviate poverty, moving beyond just competition to foster shared growth?